Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to tackle a huge question, one that every innovator, every student, every scientist faces. How do you actually build research? Seriously, think about it like a construction project. We're going to walk through the whole thing, from laying the foundation all the way to that final inspection.
All right, so here's our game plan, our builder's journey. First, we've got to find our plot of land, right? That's the research gap. Then we'll draft the blueprint, gather all our materials, break out some seriously cool power tools, and finally, do that all-important quality inspection.
Okay, first things first. Just like any great building, research needs a rock-solid foundation. And in our world, that means finding the perfect spot to start building.
So where does brand new knowledge actually come from? Well, it all starts with finding a gap. An area in our collective understanding that's still a bit of a mystery, a place that's unexplored. The real question is, how on earth do you find one?
See, a research gap is so much more than just a question nobody's answered yet. It's really an opportunity. It could be anything, right? Maybe a whole group of people that no one studied before, or maybe a method that's totally outdated and needs a modern refresh, or, my favorite, a bunch of studies that completely contradict each other and someone needs to figure out why.
So finding one of these gaps isn't just luck. It's a real process. You start by doing a huge literature review, digging through databases like PubMed and Scopus. But here's the pro tip. You want to zoom right in on the limitations and future directions sections of existing papers. That's where researchers literally tell you what they couldn't do. And what's amazing is that today we have AI tools like connected papers that can actually map out these citation networks for you, making those blind spots way easier to see.
All right, so we've poured the foundation. Now it's time to create the blueprint. Because, let's be honest, if you don't have a plan, you're just building blind. And that's exactly what a research framework is. It's the architecture of your entire project. It's what turns a cool idea into something you can actually do. It gives you that structure, making sure every single step is logical and gets you closer to your final goal. Okay, check this out. The MIR framework, that stands for Methodology for Interdisciplinary Research, is so clever because it splits your blueprint into two distinct parts. On one side, you have the conceptual design. This is all about the why and the what. What are you trying to achieve? What are your big questions? Then, and only then, do you move to the technical design, the how. How will you get your data? How will you analyze it? This separation is absolutely crucial. It stops you from falling in love with a cool new method before you're even 100% sure what question you're trying to answer.
Okay, blueprint's done. Time for a supply run. We need to gather our building materials, which in research means data and evidence. But, as you could probably guess, this is a little more complicated than a trip to the hardware store.
This is especially true when your research crosses different fields. Imagine you're trying to connect social science and biology. Well, experts in each of those fields might have totally different words for the exact same concept. It's like one person is talking about soda and the other is talking about pop. This language barrier makes finding everything you need a huge challenge.
And to solve that exact problem, we have frameworks like CRIS, which stands for Cross-Disciplinary Literature Searching. You can think of it as a universal translator for your research project. It's designed to be super sensitive, which is a fancy way of saying it's really good at finding all the right building materials, no matter what they're called or where they're stored.
And here's how it works. It's pretty cool. This is not a type it in once and you're done kind of search. It's an iterative process. It actually builds what's called a shared thesaurus, basically a common dictionary that bridges those different fields. This helps you find what are called golden gaps. These are super relevant articles you might have totally missed because they use more general language instead of the hyper-specific jargon you were searching for. All right, let's get to the really exciting part, the construction phase. We have our blueprint, we have a strategy for finding materials. Now it's time to bring in the heavy machinery, the power tools. And in the modern era, our power tools are AI. For decades, putting all this information together was this painfully slow manual job. But today, it's a whole new ballgame.
Just look at the difference here. I mean, it's night and day. A literature review that used to take a researcher months of their life just reading and highlighting can now be done in minutes. We're talking about compressing months into a lunch break. And it's not just about speed. That's huge, of course. But it's about seeing connections across different fields, uncovering hidden patterns that a human brain, on its own, might never spot. Okay, let's make this real.
Take a platform like GaiaLab, which is built for biological intelligence. This thing can pull in and synthesize data from over 17 different curated sources. And we're not talking about small-time blogs, we mean the heavy hitters, PubMed, DrugBank, ClinVar, all the big ones.
And it crunches all of that, this massive cross-disciplinary synthesis, in about 60 seconds. Let that sink in. 60 seconds. And the output isn't just a giant, overwhelming list of papers. No way. It gives you actionable intelligence. We're talking publication-ready drafts with all the citations built in, incredible interactive 3D models of protein networks you can play with, and most importantly, a traceable evidence ledger. It literally shows you its work, and it even flags areas where different studies disagree, so you know exactly where the science is still being debated. Okay, we're on to our final step, and honestly, this might be the most important one of all. It's the quality inspection. Because think about it, a skyscraper you build in a week is totally useless if it's going to fall over. The same goes for research.
Speed is amazing, but it's nothing without trust. So the goal here isn't just to get an answer fast, it's to get an answer you can rely on, an answer that anyone else can check and verify for themselves. So how do these modern tools build in that trust?
Well, it's all about transparency. And these aren't just flashy features. They are literally mechanisms designed to build scientific trust. You have evidence ledgers that let you trace every single claim right back to the original paper. You have contradiction flagging, which doesn't hide disagreements, it highlights them. It'll give you what are called controversy callouts, and maybe the biggest one, reproducible snapshots. Every single analysis with all its data and settings is saved. It can be replayed by you or anyone else to get the exact same result. It's transparency by design.
And this all leads to a really crucial point. This is about decision support, not automation. These incredible AI tools are not here to replace scientists. Not at all. They're here to be the most powerful research assistant you could ever imagine. They do the insane heavy lifting of synthesizing data so that the expert, the human, can do what they do best, make the final critical judgment call. That's what we call the human-in-the-loop principle. So let's zoom out. There it is, the modern builder's journey for research. You start by finding that gap, your plot of land. You design a solid framework, your blueprint. You systematically gather your evidence, your materials. Then you use AI as your power tools for construction. And you finish with a rigorous inspection to ensure everything is trustworthy and built to last.
And all of this leaves us with a really fascinating question for the future, right? As AI gets better and better at handling all the data synthesis, what does that mean for the human researcher? Well, maybe our most important job shifts. Maybe it becomes less about the manual labor of finding information and more about asking bigger, bolder questions, designing more creative experiments, and crucially, making those tough ethical calls that a machine just can't.
Thanks for joining us for this explainer.